At number 10, Matthew Broderick. Matthew Broderick, the star of Ferris Bueller's Day Off, is actually one of those celebrities who've actually killed someone. He seems like such a genuinely good person, so when you find out that he's actually got a dark secret, it can be quite surprising. In 1987, Matthew and his then girlfriend Jennifer Grey were driving down a road in Northern Ireland after filming Ferris Bueller, and Matthew was driving in the wrong lane and into oncoming traffic. Well, no one knows why he was in the wrong lane or how he got there, but he ended up getting into a head-on collision with another car, killing the two women inside. After spending about a month in hospital, he not only got away with his life, but also the crash. Instead of facing jail time, for which he would have served a 5-year sentence, he was instead charged with careless driving and was given a $175 fine. The family of those who were killed in the accident have said that they have no hard feelings about Matthew having gotten away with the crime, because now he has to live with this guilt for the rest of his life. At number 9, Caitlyn Jenner. Here's another celebrity who has a dark past of having been involved in a fatal car crash. Caitlyn Jenner was involved in a 4-car crash in LA that ended with one person losing their life. According to sources, what happened was Caitlyn was driving on the Pacific Coast Highway in Malibu when she hit the back of a 69-year-old woman's car. The impact sent the woman's car into oncoming traffic, where she was hit again by another driver. The woman, Kimberly Howe, died at the scene. After further investigations into the crash, it was found that Caitlyn was not speeding in this case and was actually traveling slower than Howe. Caitlyn failed to brake in time to avoid the collision with the other car, and this is what caused the following accident. After deliberations, it was determined that Caitlyn would be cleared of the charges against her, as the prosecutor could not determine that Caitlyn was responsible for the crash. Do you think that Caitlyn should have seen more consequences for her involvement in the crash? Let me know down in the comments. At number 8, Josh Peck. If you were a fan of Drake and Josh in the past, this might break your heart a little. It seems like Josh Peck and Drake Bell are not the brothers that they used to be after some drama occurred surrounding the guest list of Josh's 2017 wedding. It all started when Drake tweeted about having not been invited to the wedding, where he said, quote, "When you're not invited to the wedding, the message is clear," end quote. Drake followed up this tweet saying, quote, "Loyalty is key, always remember where you came from," and ended his little Twitter rant by saying, quote, "True colors have come out this day, message is loud and clear, ties are officially cut, I'll miss you, brother," end quote. Seems like Drake was pretty butthurt about this, but what did Josh have to say about it? Well, it turns out that the reason why Drake wasn't invited to the wedding was because he had neglected to congratulate Josh on his engagement. Understandable, I guess. The two ended up patching things up after some time had passed, but there was a time where Drake and Josh were at odds with each other, and this story sort of flew under the radar. So here's to the kids who grew up watching Drake and Josh. I'm keeping you guys updated. At number 7, Jerry Seinfeld. Did anyone else know that Jerry Seinfeld dated an 18-year-old when he was almost 40? Because I didn't, and it seemed like this story had totally flown under the radar. Until now, that is. But yes, you heard me correctly, Jerry Seinfeld dated an 18-year-old when he was 39. This was a thing back in 1993, where Jerry told sources that one day while in Central Park, he laid eyes on what he called the most wonderful girl in the world. He went to talk to her and exchanged numbers with the then 17-year-old. The girl, Shoshana Lonstein, was still in high school at the time of meeting the actor. When asked about their obvious age difference, Jerry said, quote, "I didn't realize she was so young. This is the only girl I ever went out with that was that young. I wasn't dating her. We just went to a restaurant and that was it." Over the next few months after Shoshana turned 18, the two were dating low-key. The tabloids saw him out with several women, including Shoshana, during this time, but they couldn't get over the age difference. Obviously, they're no longer together, but it was a total scandal at the time. At number 6, Mark Wahlberg. This one is quite a doozy, and you know, you wouldn't really expect a story like this to involve Mark Wahlberg, but yet, here we are. Apparently, Mark here has a history of racially motivated attacks, and this is one of the dark secrets that have remained hidden from people for quite some time. In 1986, Mark allegedly threw stones and shouted racial slurs at a group of black kids, and continued harassing them until someone had to step in and save them. On top of that, he continued his tyranny on the neighborhood's black kids as he harassed another group of kids the following day, gathering a group of white men and shouting and throwing rocks at the kids. A few years later, in 1988, Mark was involved in an incident where he yelled offensive things at a pair of Vietnamese men and hit one of the men over the head with a wooden stick, causing him to fall unconscious, and punched the other man in the eye. He got away with all of his actions, from the kids to the Vietnamese men, and a lot of people don't know about this, so here you go guys, another celebrity scandal. At number 5, Mitt Romney. I have a story about United States Senator Mitt Romney. Yeah, sure, he's not a Hollywood celebrity, but he ran against Obama in the 2012 presidential election, and Obama is a celebrity to me, so he's a celebrity by proxy. Just go with it. Besides, you want to hear this story. Anyway, back in 1983, Mitt Romney and his family were packing up their family car as they were on their way to their cottage in Ontario. Well, the whole family was coming, including their dog Seamus, but unfortunately, Seamus wasn't fitting in the car, and so to rectify this problem, Mitt put the pup in his crate and tied the crate to the roof of his car. I really wish I was joking, but I'm not. The family started driving, but soon Seamus got an upset tummy because he was so freaked out about being on the roof of the car, and so he started making some chocolate syrup, if you catch my drift, and it started dripping down the sides of the car. Mitt then pulled over, hosed the crate and car down, and continued to drive to Canada. This story didn't break until years later in 2006, and even still, it's been completely buried. This is such a horrible thing to do to your pet. If you wouldn't treat your child like this, don't do that to an animal. Period. At number 4, David DeLuise. His name might not click at first, but his face sure will. David DeLuise is the actor who played Jerry Russo in Wizards of Waverly Place on the Disney Channel. So you might be wondering what's so scandalous that he could make it onto this list. Well, dear viewer, you're about to be so shocked. In 2018, David was the unfortunate victim of a leak, and not the leaky faucet kind. This actor was hacked and his explicit photos began circling the internet. Luckily, his fans came to his aid to show him support and to bury the images online, but it's the internet and these things live online forever. Even former Disney co-star Selena Gomez had something to say about the leak, saying that she felt embarrassed for David and saddened that someone wanted to invade his privacy the way that they did. As someone who's been the victim of leaks and broken privacy herself, she can sympathize with David, but oh boy, was that a scandal. I can't believe I didn't know about this until now. At number 3, Jennifer Lawrence. Jennifer Lawrence got herself into some hot water after she was called out for being disrespectful to Hawaiian culture. Back in 2012, while shooting for the sequel to the Hunger Games film Catching Fire in Hawaii, she filmed a number of scenes in a wetsuit, and being in one for so long, she said that her butt got really itchy, and as one would do, she scratched the itch. However, instead of using her hand to scratch, she found an alternative. A rock. What's so problematic about this, you ask? Well, the rocks that she was using are seen as sacred by the Hawaiian people. In an interview where she talked about her butt-scratching incident, Jennifer said, quote, "There were sacred rocks. I don't know, they were ancestors, who knows? They were sacred, and you're not supposed to sit on them because you're not supposed to expose your genitalia to them." She went on to say that while scratching herself on the rocks, one of them came loose and prompted a landslide, saying, quote, "And all the Hawaiians were like, oh my god, it's the curse," and I'm in the corner going, "I'm your curse, I wedged it loose with my ass." Fans were not happy with the actress and her disrespect from Hawaiian culture, and so she got some heat from the incident. At number 2, Lindsay Lohan. In 2018, Lindsay Lohan started trending on Twitter in the middle of the night, and it was for a pretty wild reason. Basically what happened was Lindsay went live on Instagram while in Moscow, and she came across some people who she said were Syrian refugees. While live, she filmed the family and told them that she wanted to help them by getting them a hotel and food and letting them watch TV. She told them, quote, "I want you to tell America what you need and I will get it for you," end quote. She then turned to the kid that the family had with them and said that she was going to take him for the night so that she could help him, telling the family that they should not have their child being treated like this, sleeping on the floor, and said to the family that she would bring him back tomorrow. She then starts telling the kid to run away, trying to get him to leave his family and come with her. This whole time she's trying to convince this family to let her buy them a hotel room, and sort of starts getting frustrated when they don't go with her. As Lindsay keeps trying to take the kid, the child's mom gets up and punches her. She tells her live chat that she was in shock and that those people were trafficking and that all she wanted to do was help. Online, people were upset for Lindsay for, quote, being a white savior, and instead of coming across as a good person trying to help, she was instead seen as offensive. At number 1, O.J. Simpson. After being acquitted of the 1994 murder of his ex-wife, O.J. Simpson thought it was a bright idea to write a book. Not just any kind of book though, one that was a supposed fictional retelling of the crimes that he was accused of, but from the point of view of if he had really done it. Not only was it insensitive to the victims and their families, it also made people think that he was really guilty of the crimes because of the details of the book. It was almost incriminating. The book, called If I Did It, was supposed to get a TV adaptation as well, but it was all scrapped after the backlash that he and his ghostwriter got became too much. It was incredibly surprising to me, and I don't know how other people did not know about this, so I had to include it on this list. Can you believe it?
In spot number 10, we have James Franco. It's hard to pick just one scandal that changed the way people viewed him. It might have been the time he was caught trying to rent out a hotel room for him and a 16-year-old girl that he was chatting with online. Or the time he wore a Time's Up movement pin to an award show and then other actresses came forward and made sexual misconduct claims against him. But perhaps it's the most recent one in 2019 when two of his former students from his acting school in LA sued him for various claims of sexual misconduct. Since then, his entire career collapsed and he has been totally blacklisted in Hollywood. Even his former co-star and good friend Seth Rogen announced that he has separated himself from James and said that he will not be working with him ever again. As for the lawsuit, it reached a settlement last month in June 2021, and he agreed to pay $2.23 million to settle it, despite denying the claims and calling his former students attention hungry. Up next, number 9, we have Jussie Smollett. His scandal was one of the biggest controversies of 2019 and is still an ongoing problem that he struggles with to this day. On January 29th, 2019, news articles surfaced saying he was in the hospital after being attacked by two men who allegedly put a rope around his neck, beat him, and poured chemicals on him. The reports claimed they were yelling racial and homophobic slurs, so it was being treated as a hate crime. The two suspects were arrested, but in court they revealed that it was actually all set up by Jussie and even showed a check that he paid them to stage the whole thing. On February 21st, he was arrested on suspicion of filing a false police report and was charged with 6 counts of lying to police, all of which he pleaded not guilty to. But prosecutors ended up dropping all the charges, which the Chicago police argued, saying that the actor got off scot-free. An investigator has been hired since then to further investigate and prosecute him, so the scandal is still not over. Cruising in number 8, we have Arnold Schwarzenegger. If you're someone who has strong feelings about loyalty, then this one will bother you. Back in 2011, a bombshell was dropped when it was announced that he and his then wife, Maria Shriver, were separating after 25 years together. But the reason why is what really shocked people. Turns out he had an affair with their housekeeper while his family was on vacation, and he stayed behind to shoot a movie at the time. But it was not just a one-time fling. It was revealed that he had been having a secret ongoing relationship with her outside of his marriage and even had a secret child with her in 1997. Obviously, he had not been very involved in his secret son's life all those years, but has since put an effort in. The two of them now have a very good relationship together, and they even work out together. His son Joseph is his identical twin, and he honestly looks like Arnold when he was younger. It's crazy how much they look like. Sliding in number 7, we have Chris Brown. The singer shocked the entire world back in 2009 when he was charged with felony after an altercation with his then girlfriend Rihanna. Photos surfaced and showed the brutal attack, showing her face battered and bruised. He ended up pleading guilty to the charges and was sentenced to serve 5 years probation and 1,400 hours of community service. He was very honest in interviews regarding the incident and said, I quote, "I remember she tried to kick me, but then I really hit her with a closed fist, like I punched her and busted her lip, and when I saw it I was in shock. I was like, why did I hit her like that?" His career has never been the same ever since then, but Rihanna ended up having a very forgiving heart. She later dropped the restraining order against him, and the two of them are still close friends to this day, claiming that she will always have love for him and happy that he is in a better place now. Making his way into number 6 is Shane Dawson. He held the title of King of YouTube for many years, but that all changed in June 2020 with one of the biggest YouTube scandals of all time. Video clips from some of his old content resurfaced and showed him saying very racist remarks and making inappropriate comments about He lost over 1 million subscribers in just 2 weeks, and the Smith family even lashed out on him online. Yes, I'm talking about Will Smith and his wife Jada. They had a reason to lash out though. YouTube ended up demonetizing all 3 of his channels so that he couldn't make money off any future videos or any of his old ones. He issued an apology video but has not returned to YouTube ever since then, and it has been a year since the scandal went down. He recently posted on social media though that he's going to make his fans proud this year, and rumor has it he might make his return to YouTube. Halfway through at number 5 is James Charles. Earlier this year, he faced a ton of backlash after allegations came forward from two underage men who claimed that James had been talking to them and having inappropriate conversations with them on social media. The claims came with screenshots of flirty messages from the YouTuber, but James said that they told him they were 18 years old. People were very upset because they said that he should have known simply by looking at their Instagram pages, where you could tell because they were posting things from high school and stuff. Despite claiming they lied about their age, he agreed that he should be more responsible, especially as someone with a big platform. The worst part is this isn't the first scandal he's been involved in, with younger teens claiming that he was speaking to them inappropriately online. He has denied some of the claims from previous incidents, but this time he did take responsibility for his actions, and after months of not posting videos, he finally made his return this week. Taking over the number 4 spot is Matt Lauer. He was living his best life as the co-anchor on the Today Show, but in 2017 he was fired from the show and his entire career came crumbling down. A woman named Brooke Nevels was an employee on the show also, and filed complaints against Matt for misconduct and assault. Ronan Farrow wrote a book called Catch and Kill, and in the book it featured a very open and detailed interview with Brooke about the allegations. The interview revealed very disturbing details about the incident of a time he allegedly forced himself on her in 2014 in his hotel room. Now, this is just a very light way of referencing what happened because of YouTube's policies. I can't go into it. I am not trying to undermine the very serious claims. Within 24 hours of the story coming out, he was fired from the show, and more allegations came to surface from other women. Matt denied all of these claims, saying that the encounter between him and Brooke was consensual, and he was married at the time of this incident, and because of the affair, his divorce was officially finalized in 2019. Rolling into number 3 is Harvey Weinstein. His entire life changed back in 2017 at the start of his sexual assault case, which lasted a few years and is still ongoing at the time of this recording. It began when the New York Times published a story detailing decades of allegations against him for misconduct. Some of the claims coming from his employees, and some of them even coming from other actresses in Hollywood, like Rose McGowan and Ashley Judd. As the years went on, more and more allegations came to surface, and he lost his whole career and reputation in the Hollywood industry. In 2020, he finally got his sentencing after a long legal battle, and he is currently serving his 23-year term in prison. Updates on his case came though just a few days ago on July 20th, when reports revealed he was extradited from New York to Los Angeles to face additional charges. His lawyers had tried to negotiate to stop the transfer, but the judge approved it. We will see what happens with these charges. He could be facing even more years added to his term. Swiping our number 2 spot is Woody Allen. Before his scandal came to surface, he was known as a legendary film director, actor, and comedian. His career has successfully lasted more than 6 decades, but that all changed when the world found out he was in a romantic relationship with his wife's adopted daughter, who was much younger than him. A documentary came out this year called Allen vs. Farrow, referring to his now ex-wife Mia Farrow. The documentary uncovers how she found out about their secret relationship and the damage it has done to their family. But the documentary also revealed that he had allegedly assaulted her other daughter, Dylan Farrow. The documentary explores all the very disturbing details of their marriage and the allegations and the legal battles they have faced. Woody continues to say that the claims within the documentary are not true, and only admitted to falling in love with her adopted daughter when she was legal of age. But that is the big debate of this entire scandal, just how old she was when things started between them. Not to mention, it's freaking weird. In our number 1 spot is Bill Cosby. He was once one of the biggest actors in Hollywood until he was accused by more than 50 people for sexual assault and misconduct. The allegations started to surface in 2014 and referenced claims that went back as far as 1965 and spanned to 2008. He was battling all of these horrific allegations for years, but was found guilty on April 26, 2018 for 3 counts of aggravated assault. Then on September 25, 2018, he was sentenced to 3 to 10 years in state prison, plus fines of $25,000 and $43,000. However, the world is currently in a frenzy Cosby because news broke that he was just released from prison due to process violation at his 2018 trial, which overturned his conviction. The prosecutor, Kevin Steele, said in a statement, I quote, "Mr. Cosby was found guilty by a jury and now goes free on a procedural issue that is irrelevant to the facts of the crime." Whatever that means. Obviously, many people do not agree with this and think that he just got out because of his celebrity status. Starting us off at number 10, we have the Justin Timberlake cheating scandal. If you missed this one, then prepare for your heart to be broken because, oh, this one hurts. Fans adore Justin and his wife Jessica Biel, who are married and have 2 kids together. Honestly, they seem to be the power couple in Hollywood. But that all changed in 2019 when photos leaked online showing Justin holding hands and getting cozy with his co-star Alicia Wainwright. The pictures were taken in New Orleans where he was filming, and apparently the cast had a night off and decided to go to a local bar. In the pictures, Justin is having drinks, holding her hand, and she is also stroking his knee at one point. But what most people pointed out very quickly was that he did not have his wedding ring on. For obvious reasons, this started a huge cheating rumor mill, but Justin released a public statement saying nothing happened further than those photos. He apologized and said that his actions were wrong, and Jessica Biel gave him a chance to prove himself. She was very forgiving. Up next, number 9, we have the epic elevator fight. This one shocked everyone when video footage surfaced in 2014 of Solange Knowles and Jay-Z having an argument in an elevator. Surveillance footage at a hotel caught Solange physically attacking her brother-in-law, who didn't put his hands on her at any point in this footage. It was a bit confusing for people to watch because the elevator ride was just quiet and normal at first, but then what seemed like out of nowhere, she just snaps and starts to kick him. Fans got an explanation later on when reports claimed that she was mad at Jay-Z for allegedly getting too close with Rachel Roy, his business partner's wife. But the two of them spoke on it later on and said that alcohol was involved and that they have worked it out and they are on good terms again. Basically, they said it was very simple. They are like brother and sister, and so they fight like brother and sister. I've been there. My sister's chased me around with a hammer one day and then loves me the next. And that's a fact. Cruising into the number 8 spot is Miley Cyrus's bong video. Back in 2010, this was one of the biggest scandals to happen because it was a Disney star gone wild situation. Miley had been exposed on social media and in paparazzi many times, but she doesn't seem too bothered by it usually. But she probably cared a little bit more about this scandal because someone exposed her online in a video of her hitting a bong on her 18th birthday. Let's keep in mind that during this time, this was not legal by any means, and she was still associated with the Disney Channel, so obviously it was very detrimental to her career and reputation. After Disney started making public statements about it, Miley claimed that she was smoking salvia, which is a natural and legal herb with psychedelic properties. No one believed her though, in all honesty, and then years down the road she admitted to what it really was, which we already knew. But okay, Miley. Moving on to number 7, we have Reese Witherspoon's DUI. That is a sentence that I never thought I would say. No one wants their personal life getting caught on camera, but you most definitely do not want a DUI getting caught on camera. Or your legal record for that. It's worse in Reese's case because hers was filmed and then exposed to the entire world. It happened back in 2013 when she was with her husband at the time, Jim Toth, and they were pulled over by an Atlanta cop on suspicion of a DUI. The police dash cam caught the whole thing on tape and showed Reese going into some erratic rage, which actually led to her being arrested. Her husband was the one driving, so he was actually the one with the drink driving charge, but Reese was intoxicated and just felt feisty, and she felt the need to stick up for her husband. In the video, you can see Reese yelling at the police officers and not listening to their orders, which were telling her to sit down. They ended up putting her in handcuffs, and then she lies to them saying that she's pregnant and has to pee as an attempt to get out of the handcuffs. They ended up both being arrested, and she ended up pleading no contest to physical obstruction of another, and Jim pled guilty to his DUI. In spot number 6, we have Winona Ryder's shoplifting scandal. She has one of the most trending surveillance tapes from any celebrity misconduct that's ever been caught on camera. The footage was released back in 2001 when she was one of the biggest Hollywood stars at the time that everyone was talking about. But then everyone was talking about her for all the wrong reasons. Video footage leaked and showed her shoplifting merchandise worth $5,000 from Saks Fifth Avenue in Beverly Hills. The incident and legal battle put her career on hold for a while, but later down the road, she said that it was the best thing that could have happened to her at that point in her life. She explained and said that she felt like she was hitting a wall, and what happened gave her the time off that she needed. Honestly, I don't get when celebrities shoplift. You are rich and you could probably get half that stuff for free simply because of who you are. What are you doing shoplifting? You have $5,000. At number 5, we have Leann Rimes and Eddie Cibrian cheating scandal. This one was messy. The two of them were co-stars in the 2009 movie Northern Lights, but they seemed to grow a closer relationship than just co-stars. At the time, Leann was married to the dancer Dean Shermitt for 9 years, and Eddie was married to model Brandy Granville. During the shoot of their movie, they upgraded their friendship to another level, and surveillance footage caught the whole thing on tape. Video footage from a restaurant showed the two of them having dinner together and even sharing a kiss and holding hands. Even though the footage showed them straight up kissing, the two of them denied infidelity, which just made people even more angry at the situation because you got caught. What do you mean? Sniping our number 4 spot is David Hasselhoff Drunken Hamburger Feast. If this is your first time hearing about it, then you're probably really confused as to what I'm talking about. It seemed silly at first, but it was actually a lot more serious than people knew. The video footage surfaced online back in 2007 and was actually exposed on social media by his own daughter. She didn't have bad intentions, she just posted the video clips online thinking no one would see it or that no one would really pay attention to it. The video showed her dad completely wasted, lying on the floor, struggling to eat a hamburger, which normally would be funny to watch, but he is a recovering addict, and the video exposed that he was no longer sober like he was claiming to be. In the video, you can hear his 16-year-old daughter saying, I quote, "Dad, you need to promise me you're not gonna get alcohol tonight, okay? If you get alcohol tonight, you are fired from your show tomorrow. And a doctor is coming over here in the morning to check your alcohol level, and if there's any alcohol in your system, you're going to be fired." So it was actually a lot more serious than people thought. David ended up admitting to his relapse and issued an apology. Taking over our 3rd spot is Jamie Lynn Spears and the Pita Pit fight. A lot of people learned not to mess with Britney Spears' little sister back in 2015 after surveillance footage showed her doing something crazy. She was having lunch at a Pita Pit restaurant when a fight just broke out in the dining area, which actually included one of her friends. Jamie was not actually involved in the fight and she was trying to break it up, but it was unsuccessful, so she did the unthinkable. She actually was able to grab her friend and pulled her out of this brawl, and then she walks behind the food counter and grabs a bread knife and starts waving it around as a warning to the people fighting. No one got hurt, and no, she did not actually use the knife on anyone, but who knew that this Nickelodeon star had that kind of fight in her? That is pretty badass, I'm not gonna lie. Swinging around a bread knife. I can't even imagine. Moving on to the number 2 spot is Kate Moss gets caught with substances. The famous incident happened in 2005, and by that time, everyone knew that the English supermodel was having some substance issues, but this was the first time that her addiction came out as a legit story. Video footage surfaced online showing the model snorting 5 lines in the course of 40 minutes. Turns out there was a hidden camera in the recording studio that she had been hanging out in with her then boyfriend Pete Doherty. Once the photos and video footage surfaced everywhere, she lost all of her fashion clients like Burberry and H&M, who ended their campaigns with her immediately. All of the contracts that she lost were worth more than $4 million. Rumor has it though that the only brand to actually stick by her during that time was Chanel, who announced that they were willing to renew her contract despite what happened in that video. Earning a number 1 spot is Caitlyn Jenner's car accident. This one is more serious than some of the other ones on our list, and it turned into a significant legal battle. Caitlyn got into a car accident back in 2015, which quickly turned into a serious lawsuit after one person Dawson was killed. Caitlyn was uninjured in the crash, but after being exposed on social media, she was deemed a lawsuit for wrongful death. Video footage was posted online which captured the entire accident on camera, showing Caitlyn's Escalade. Her Escalade was carrying an off-road vehicle and she ended up hitting two cars, causing one car to hit the other car. One of the drivers, Kim Howe, was 69 years old at the time and sadly passed away in the crash. At the time of the investigation, even though the tape clearly shows who is at fault, she was able to walk away without any charges. However, 3 years after the accident in 2018, she was sentenced to pay $800,000 for the settlement of the case.
At number 10, Chris Brown. Chris Brown has had a rocky past. There have been a lot of scandals we've talked about, like his 2009 Rihanna incident, and even the time he got banned from the gym. But there's another scandal that people don't talk about and pretend like it never happened. In 2016, the singer actually got into a day-long standoff with SWAT. This all came about after Chris allegedly pointed a firearm at a woman. She tried to run away, but Chris told her that she could leave and have her personal possessions back if she agreed to sign a non-disclosure agreement and forget the whole thing. She refused and ran away. Chris followed her in his car, but the woman was able to hide in a neighbor's backyard. Eventually, the police were called about the incident, but Chris refused to let the police in his home without a warrant, so they set up camp. Chris went on to have a standoff with them. Helicopters flew overhead and it was a big to-do. Eventually, Chris was arrested and the whole ordeal just sort of blew over, but I'm surprised that no one talks about this anymore. At number 9, Hugh Grant. The world was shocked when news broke of Hugh Grant's arrest in the summer of 1995, but not shocked enough to keep this scandal alive. People pretend like this scandal never happened. Hugh was arrested after picking up a sex worker and asking for a pleasure favor, if you catch my drift here. He was picked up by officers shortly after meeting her, and soon his mugshot was on the cover of every tabloid. Hugh ended up releasing a statement apologizing to his girlfriend Liz, but soon the heat was turned up again after the woman he met with that night spilled the beans on their whole encounter, claiming that Hugh told her that he, quote, always wanted to sleep with a black woman, end quote. In the end, Hugh didn't have many legal repercussions, only having to pay a $1,000 fine. Let me know though if you know about this scandal and why you think no one really talks about it anymore. I mean, people bring up old scandals all the time, so why has this one remained buried for so long? At number 8, O.J. Simpson. You know, after being acquitted of a severe criminal charge, you'd think that your best bet would be to lay low for a while until things blow over so you can just move on with your life, right? Well, not O.J. Simpson. In 1994, after he was found not guilty of killing his ex-wife, O.J. thought it was a bright idea to write a book. Not just any kind of book though. A creative masterpiece of a book that was a fictional narrative of the crimes he was just acquitted of. Now you're probably thinking, well, that's basically every true crime book in a nutshell. But no. This book was told from O.J.'s point of view if he was the killer. The book, called If I Did It, was met with a lot of controversy and backlash because of how insensitive it was to the victims and their families. To make matters worse for him, it also made people think that he was really guilty of the crimes because of the details of the book. Things just fit together suspiciously well, and it made people think that O.J. was just bragging about having gotten away with this crime. On top of that, it was supposed to get a TV adaptation, but it was all scrapped after the backlash he and his ghostwriter got became too much. This is probably the dumbest move you could make after being fresh out of a highly publicized case where you almost went to jail. The fact that people just forgot about this is beyond me. At number 7, Jeremy Meeks. Now I really want your opinion on this next one because there's just something a little bizarre about how this guy rose to fame and no one's really talking about it. Jeremy Meeks is an actor and model who rose to fame because one of his mugshots went viral. Yes, I said mugshots. This guy was dubbed the hot felon and has been able to turn his life around thanks to becoming a meme. Before becoming the famous model he is today, however, he was in and out of prison for years. In the past, he's been charged with robbery, possession of a firearm, and resisting arrest. In total, he spent over 9 years in prison. In 2014, when Jeremy was arrested, this mugshot that he received was the one that caused him to become a meme and rise to fame. His last time in prison was in 2016, and since then, he's turned his life around and has risen to fame. Some people think that his rise to fame needs to be more talked about because he's been found guilty of violent crimes in the past, but no one really acknowledges that anymore. Is that something that should be discussed, or should we just pretend like it never happened? At number 6, Cardi B. In 2019, when rapper Tekashi 6ix9ine took the stand, he threw a lot of people under the bus. People in the rap community, as well as some fans, see Tekashi as a snitch now because of all the information he gave while on trial. One aspect of that trial that pretty much everyone has glossed over is the fact that he revealed that Cardi B was part of a notorious gang as a teenager. It was revealed in court that Cardi was a part of the Bloods gang. A representative from Cardi's label insisted that this information was untrue, probably just to protect her image, but in a 2018 interview, Cardi revealed that she had been in a gang as a teenager, so it looks like this could actually be true information. Either way, I don't think anyone will see Cardi in a different light because of this, but it's still crazy to think that we completely glossed over this scandal and no one talks about it. At number 5, Chris D'Elia. 2020 was a year of exposures and cancellations for a lot of celebrities. Chris D'Elia faced multiple allegations of sexual misconduct and harassing underage girls online last year, and though it was big news at the time, no one seems to be talking about it anymore. Multiple women came forward to share their unpleasant experiences with the comedian, from unwanted advances to indecent exposure and manipulation. Now, in 2021, Chris is facing more allegations and people aren't talking about it. In a lawsuit filed in early March, Chris was accused of soliciting private content from a young woman under the age of 18. Though this happened in 2014 when she was 17, she has been inspired by other women who've come forward to tell her story and seek justice. The investigation into Chris's alleged crimes have revealed that he solicited over 100 photos from this woman, but justice will be served. His actions and experiences with these young women have impacted their lives, and now they have to live with that. The allegations against Chris have damaged his career so much after he was dropped from his agency and manager, and this will probably get worse as more women continue to come forward. At number 4, Woody Allen. Another scandal that people seem to have glossed over is one surrounding Woody Allen and his marriage to his adopted daughter Soon-Yi. Soon-Yi was adopted when she was about 7 years old by Woody and Mia Farrow, and they eventually got married in 1997. When reports came out about their marriage, this took a lot of people by surprise and made a lot of people mad. Reports came out years later in 1992 that Woody was having an affair with Soon-Yi while married to Mia Farrow, and shortly after their marriage ended, Woody publicly announced his relationship with his adopted daughter. The couple have defended their relationship at every turn, especially now that the bombshell documentary Alan v. Farrow has been released. The couple remains together and they seem to be happy, but a lot of people just can't get over how this relationship began, and maybe people just pretend like this never happened because it's so unconventional. At number 3, Caitlyn Jenner. Here's another celebrity who's caused a scandal that people just pretend never happened. In 2015, Caitlyn Jenner was involved in a severe 4-car crash in LA that sadly ended with one person losing their life. According to sources, Caitlyn was driving on the Pacific Coast Highway in Malibu when she hit the back of a 69-year-old woman's car. The impact was so heavy that it sent the woman's car into oncoming traffic, where she was hit again by another driver. The woman, Kimberly Howe, passed away shortly after this incident. An investigation into the cause of this crash was conducted, and after officials looked into the crash, it was found that Caitlyn was not speeding in this case, as was alleged, and was actually traveling slower than Howe. The crash was caused because Caitlyn failed to brake in time to avoid a collision with another car, and that it was all just a tragic accident. After deliberations, the court ruled that Caitlyn would be cleared of charges against her, as the prosecutor could not determine that Caitlyn was responsible for the crash. Caitlyn later went on to sue the paparazzi in 2016 because she claimed that they had been following her that day and were partially to blame for the incident. At number 2, Bruno Mars. Bruno Mars isn't someone you hear much from these days. Recently, he announced a new single and collaborative album is soon to come, but other than that, he's not really making much news. The fact that he's not making very many waves in Hollywood these days could be the reason why people don't acknowledge one of his biggest past controversies. Back in 2010, Bruno got into some legal trouble after he was arrested in Las Vegas after a show. The singer was detained for suspected possession of that magic white no-no-snow. According to the police report, security guards from the hotel he was staying at discovered that he may have been in possession of illegal substances, and so they called the authorities to look into it. It was later found that he was in possession of nearly 3 grams of that no-no-snow, and he was arrested and charged. In order to avoid jail time, Bruno was offered a plea deal, which he ended up accepting. As punishment, he was ordered to pay a fine and serve 1 year probation. I can understand why no one talks about it because this happened over 10 years ago, but it's been so buried that a lot of people don't even know that this happened. And finally at number 1, Blake Jenner. Blake Jenner is known to many fans for his time on the show Glee. While working on the show, he met actress Melissa Benoist, and they soon began a romantic relationship. Things seemed fine on the surface as they eventually got married, but behind the scenes, there was a darker truth. In late 2019, Melissa came out and broke her silence on her experience with domestic violence involving her then-husband Blake. Melissa released a 14-minute IGTV video where she opened up about her experiences being in a bad relationship and recounted some instances of physical and emotional abuse. One of the most harrowing stories she told in this video detailed how Blake had once thrown a phone at her face, which tore her iris, broke her nose, and has permanently altered her vision. She spoke out about the emotional torment she faced regarding the jealousy Blake felt when Melissa was on set, saying that he refused to let her have any romantic scenes with other men. Melissa tried covering up the injuries that she sustained by telling people that she was just accident prone, but in reality she was a victim of Blake's outbursts. Many people came to her defense and condemned Blake's actions, but after this died down, no one really acknowledged it again. If there's anything we've learned from the countless people over the last year alone who have exposed those who have hurt them, is that these things need to be acknowledged and people need to take accountability for hurting others.